Let's talk about the definition of community, a group of people who believe that cryptocurrency has value and they attend events and do activities where they believe they will receive digital tokens that can exchange for real money in the future. That's Urban Dictionary.
That's not real?
Urban Dictionary is real, and they also bring to you the neighborhood, where Mr. Rogers lives. Not to be confused with the neighborhood of make-believe where Mr. Roger teaches us lessons with puppets. Very creepy, disturbing puppets. So there's a difference.
Oh, that's not true. Those puppets are great.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for our neighbor. Did you find a Mr. Rogers quote for this episode? We've already failed. How did we not do that?
That was stupid.
Here, I'll Google one real fast.
Okay.
Fred Rogers. If you want to be happy in your community, like and subscribe to Cydni and Sher podcast and tell your friends about it too. Well, that was nice.
I'm making my way through the drip, drip, drop.
Today, Cydni, we want to talk about healing and hope through building strong communities.
Let's do it. I love something that Dr. Martin Luther King said, because when he talks about communities, he says beloved community. And I really love that. It's probably out there and everyone already knows, but I've never actually paid attention to that phrase before. Beloved community. I don't know if I'd ever would say that about a community I've lived in, but we can change that. You can make your neighborhood a beloved community.
Well, now that you say that, when I think about my childhood, I do think of that as a beloved community because I didn't realize how good we had it. It was so great.
I think what I mean is I've never taken time to appreciate the people I live with in a community and appreciated that it is beloved.
Maybe you should do that now since we're in the same neighborhood. It's a beloved community.
Sher, I love our beloved community. I've just really been reflecting on how much I love our beloved community. If I had one word to describe our community, it would be beloved.
That makes me feel better. Thank you.
Whew. But he was very passionate about building a beloved community. For him, he spoke of a beloved community as a vision of the future where men will live together as brothers. And I'm sure he added, and women as sisters, right?
Definitely. Let's just be honest. People weren't uptight back then. They knew what it meant.
They knew what it meant. Mankind, that we could act like brothers and sisters.
Correct.
So I feel like today, as we talk about this, keep in mind, we want to build a beloved community together wherever you are. I listened to a TED Talk that I just love so much by Doug Shipman. And he said, let's just start with the basics. Love thy neighbor. But he broke it down in such a cool way that I have never considered before. He said, neighbor has two root words. Ne means near. Bur means dwelling or home base or someone's heart. He said, do this to start a change of building a beloved neighborhood. Switch things. Don't think about who is your neighbor. Instead, think about whose neighbor are you? So don't think they live close to me. They're close to my space. Instead, think I'm close to their home base. How do I want to respect and come across in someone's space because I am near their dwelling? And then my mind was just going so fast and busy with this idea because I thought, okay, if neighbor, meaning near to someone's home base or someone's heart, and we're told to love thy neighbor, then really we're told to love someone's heart. That's what I'm taking away. He also said, don't just think about who is right by you, but think of how you approach all people, that you are in their space. And then I had this thought, Sher, Christ never had a home base. He was always the neighbor.
Oh, that's a really deep thought for today, Cydni.
I know. I was like running around the house and I was sweeping and mopping and I was like, oh my gosh, Christ was always the neighbor. He was always thinking about being in someone else's home base or someone else's heart. He was always the neighbor. He was never like, they're in my space, they're in my territory. He was always serving. That is just kind of the raw thought process because that's what I have available right now. But isn't that interesting to think about?
I like the raw for today. That was really good.
Thank you. I hope it made sense.
It did. It's a good way to think about Christ and how he approached service and the commandment to love thy neighbor. So let's talk about for just a second the benefits of strong communities. And before we get going, let's define what a community can be, because it can be your church, it could be your neighborhood, it could be your work, your family, or any organization where you can gather with others.
Okay, wait, Sher.
Yes.
I think the better thing to do is to talk about the benefits of not a strong community. If you're in a community that's not strong, you could easily still, nobody's going to tell on you. You could vandalize someone's yard. You could do graffiti. Okay, now we could go to the benefits of a strong community.
That was really helpful.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I loved growing up in my neighborhood when I was a kid because I always knew, well, I didn't think of this as an advantage when I was a kid, but in our little group of friends, we always knew that any parent could yell at us at any time and our parents would support the yelling. That's good. It helped you stay on the straight and narrow just a little bit more.
It takes a village to yell at a teen.
It does. And our village was willing to yell at all of us.
Beloved.
All right. Community should be something that lifts us, not just emotionally, spiritually, and physically, but these are people that are willing to lift your burdens and celebrate your victories and happy moments. And I really love that because you have a good friend when they're there for you when things are going crappy, but they're also there for you to celebrate when things are going really well. That's when you have a good friend. They're not jealous when something good happens, and they're there for you when things aren't so good. I love that idea of a positive community. They're there for the extremes and everything in the middle. So there is a reason that I added work to the community group, because this is how I felt about the school that I worked at for over 30 years. It always felt like a community, and I still feel very connected there, and I still feel like it's my community, even though I'm not working there right now. I obviously have a wonderful family and ward and all of those things, but I feel like that might be a more common community. So I wanted to talk about work because it's a variety of people there with different beliefs and ideas and political persuasions. Everyone's just a little bit different, but we're all working together to build this school environment and strong community. So I was told that when the teachers at my school found out that I had a stroke, that they gathered in the hallway in a circle and said a prayer for me. And I cannot even tell you how much that touched my heart and still does. It just gets me all teary-eyed to think of this, because this is a group of people that some of them believe in God and some of them don't. We don't think the same. We all have different political and religious views, but they knew that prayer mattered to me. So at that moment, it didn't matter what their personal beliefs were. They were there for me. That is a community. I think the reason this touches my heart so much is because it's unusual in a workplace environment. I don't know. I've worked the same place for 30 years. How would I know? What do you think?
I would pray with you in the hall. We kind of work together.
That's true.
I'll do it right now if you want. I'll go into the hall.
That needs to happen. But I love this example of community because it's just a group of people. It doesn't matter your background or beliefs. You're just willing to come together and have each other's back. Another example of where I felt a strong community was the days following 9/11. America truly loved each other. And Cydni, it was so beautiful. I hated everything that happened on 9/11, but I loved the feeling afterwards of how it didn't matter who you were. Americans just loved each other. And it was so great. United We Stand was everywhere, and people truly meant it. There were handmade signs of love and support. They just popped up everywhere. I don't know. Were you 10 when that happened? Do you even remember it?
I remember sitting and watching it happen on TV before walking to school. And I do remember the feeling after too, that there was a unity. It's sad it takes a tragedy, but that happens so often in our lives in different levels, whether it's a loss of a loved one and people come together and support each other. Tragedy often can bring unity.
And it did for a hot second. It was so nice. I remember very distinctly my mom saying that was the first time that she had felt such unity in the country since she was a kid in World War II. She said that's how it felt, like everyone was helping each other and loving each other and supporting one another. That is a strong community. Everyone was all about helping each other get through this really horrible and terrible time. So that happened in 2001. And then in 2002, I was an usher at the 2002 Salt Lake City opening ceremonies. When the athletes brought the flag in that the firemen had found in the rubble from the World Trade Center, there was an absolute silence that came over the crowd. Cydni, that was the absolute definition of silence that was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop in that stadium. It was a moment and a scene that is just etched in my brain and my heart. And the love that could be felt in that stadium at that moment was overwhelming. Everyone in the crowd had tears rolling down their face. It was amazing.
What an experience.
It was. And not to make you jealous, but I was really close to the front. And
Don't they put the worst students in the front?
Yeah.
They had to watch you. Watch that lady.
It's not far from the truth.
I'm so surprised
I
that you
know.
were like that.
But I was just right there. I was right next to where the flag came in. It was so beautiful and so touching. And it was a moment, like I said, that I'll never forget. But the reason I won't forget it is because of the love and the community that we felt at that moment. It was beautiful. We are told in the scriptures to bear one another's burdens. And the reason we're told that is because it works. I felt it when I had the stupid stroke, and I felt it on 9/11. This is the power of community.
I love that you use the word work as well. I was reflecting on some of the speeches I listened to where they specifically brought up Martin Luther King Jr. And they said the people were driven with one passion and one purpose. They put in so much work and effort for a cause that they all deeply cared about. And that did create a beloved community and a desire to do the work to create that beloved community because the work was put in. And you can see that anywhere, whether it's in your classroom. If you put the work in to build a culture that you want and you start seeing it pay off, there's a certain love there. And I see it with Ben and his work that he puts so much love and work into building a culture there. He loves the people he works with. And I see it at home with building our family and trying to create a culture and trying to create a purpose together. And if you put in the work, you have such a deep appreciation and an empathy that will help you to love your neighbor better.
And it is necessary to put the work in to build these strong communities. So how can we do that? What is the actual work that we should be doing? How do you make that happen? When I was studying this topic, there was a lot of words that popped up. Words like you can build strong communities through forgiveness and being kind and service and a shared purpose. But the one that came up that I was just drawn to, and maybe it's because my IQ is low, is just showing up. In both of the examples about my work and about 9/11, ordinary people just showed up for each other.
I like that you simplify it to just showing up. One thought I had was what we already said is sometimes it takes a tragedy for people to be motivated to do work, to heal, to build the community again. But we could also just make that decision. I have reflected on that a lot about the decision to build a community right now as your life is. And especially lately, I've been very grateful for a little community I have because a few mothers and I have done carpool together since 3rd grade. And now we have freshmen in high school. And when you're a freshman in high school, you are now getting a permit to drive. And just yesterday, Sher, my son drove to Costco for the first time.
He did?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe he's that old.
I have never been more terrified in my entire life. I did not know fear until I sat in the passenger seat with my 15-year-old driving. I thought I was a chill mom. I am not. I learned this about myself just yesterday. And I sat in the passenger seat and I was dying inside. My face was hot. I was sweating and I was screaming like a psycho. I was like, slow down, and then aggressively, slow down. And my son in the back was like, I've never heard you sound like that before. My other son who's driving was like, I was scared to drive. Now I'm just scared of you. And it was a complete disaster because I was freaking out. I give myself an F. I did a horrible, horrible job. So I get to Costco alive by some miracle. He's honestly probably a fine driver. I'm just not a fine passenger seat driver.
I'm not judging. I think it would be terrifying.
Terrifying. We got into Costco. And at this point, I wouldn't even let him drive the cart. I was like, give me the cart. I'm going to take it. And I saw him texting some people. And I was like, who are you texting? What are you texting about? He's like, I'm finding out if any of my friends' moms acted the same way that you acted. And I was like, fine, I'm going to go to my own group text. And I did. I went and I texted this mom group who all have kids my age. And I said, hey guys, just wondering, is it normal to panic when your firstborn is driving for the first time? I could not bring my heart rate down until they started making these jokes and it was fantastic and they were so helpful. One mom was not that helpful. She's like, I don't know. My son's so calm and cautious when he drives. And I was like, oh, that's nice. But I'm not calm or cautious apparently as a passenger driver. But I felt so beyond grateful that I have this community of moms who have gone through the same thing and that I could just reach out and be like, hey, I'm actually having a panic attack and I think I might die inside for something that's technically normal. So can someone walk me through and make me feel a little bit better? And I had another mom say, hey, just let him drive with me. This is my third round, so I got it. I know that I'm incredibly blessed and lucky to have a group of moms that we can call each other and just say, I'm stuck at the gas station buying a soda. Could you pick up my kid? Or, when things happen, we have each other and we have a community, we have a village. But there was a time I did not. When I first had Rock, I had 0 friends. And nobody wanted to be my friend, and Rock couldn't make any friends either. And so we were really struggling, and it was just us all of the time. I had nobody, and that was so difficult. But I just started showing up. I started showing up at parks. I started showing up at libraries where other moms would be. And then I started talking to them. And slowly over time, I have been so blessed, but I had to show up. I had to put forth the effort first. This is something I feel like a lot of people think a community just lands in your lap. But it doesn't. You have to get yourself out there. You have to take action. You have to get to know people. You often have to make the first move. Sometimes you'll get turned down. There's a few mom friends that did not work out, and that was weird and awkward, but it's a good story now. But there's so many moms who now we've been friends since our children were 6 years old, and it is such a beautiful community. I'm so grateful because I honestly don't know how I got through that 20-minute drive yesterday. It's horrible. Someone DM us, tell me how to get through this. I honestly think it's not him. I think it's me, but whatever. But I also, online community has helped me several times in my life too. I've mentioned this before, but there was an online Facebook community that got me through a long hospital stay. It was a placenta previa group. All of us had it. All of us were sitting in the hospital bed on bed rest, and I stumbled across a Facebook, and I had a community of people all over the world who were also sitting in a hospital bed wondering, all facing the same unknowns. All of us had the same fears, the same concerns, the same struggles. And sometimes it was really funny because all of us would think we were the only ones who could not focus and watch a TV show. And then someone would say, I know this is crazy, but does anyone else struggle focusing long enough on a TV show? And then there would be 150 comments of people saying, exactly, I cannot even watch a TV show. I'm just staring at the clock and it's not helpful. I have lifelong friends from this group that I will probably never meet in my life. But I feel, again, so grateful for the communities online, communities in person. But I do see, upon reflection, that every community I've been a part of has required me to act first. Nobody wants to act first. Nobody asked me. I'm the one who asked Ben out first. What the heck? Why does no one want to be my friend?
You're going to get a clue and you just aren't getting it.
Sher, you want to do a podcast?
I'm so glad you brought that up, that you do need to act and put in the work, because I don't want to. I would rather just stay home and chill and not be around anybody because that's my happy place. But these communities, that is really what gets you through life. You need those types of communities and people to help you get through it.
It's so true. And most recently for me, I joined a boot camp, as I've mentioned, and it is becoming a community for me. A guy drives 20 minutes to come because the community has been so good for him. And I struggle getting there on time and I'm 4 minutes away. I'm impressed by him. But it is a community of people who have a driven purpose that we want to feel good about our bodies and we want to work harder and we push each other. And it was so uncomfortable the first week. It was. I didn't know anybody. And I went. I showed up. You have to show up. Be willing to show up. Be willing to force people to be your friend. You have to be willing to force people to want to spend time with you and force them to respond to your text. Especially if you have Finder, you can find out if they're close by and they should be able to reply to your text because they're just at home. Anyway.
I'm getting really tired of you driving back and forth in front of my house, Cydni.
I'm like, hey, Sher, are you home? No, I know you're home.
Your lights are on. I can see you through the window. All right. One of my all-time favorite stories about showing up, Cydni, is the story of the Amish school shooting in 2006. Now, that is not a happy topic, but what happened after it, I think is so amazing. A gunman entered a one-room schoolhouse and took the lives of 5 young Amish girls, which is just awful. And this heartbroken, wonderful community immediately forgave the murderer and reached out to support his widow, his children, and his parents. What on earth, Cydni? I cannot believe the love and the example that these people showed all of us. Some even went to the murderer's funeral to support the family. I cannot believe even wanting to be there and then consoling the family. I just can't even imagine that. And then there was one little girl that was left permanently brain damaged. This happened in 2006, and she lived until 2024. So just last year, she was visited every single week by the murderer's mom. And her name is Terry Roberts. She would go and sit with this Amish girl, and she would read her the Bible and the Anne of Green Gables every single week. This heartbroken Amish community showed up for this family, and in return, a devastated mom showed up for an Amish girl for years. I will never get tired of reading about this story and the forgiveness and the love that they extended to this guy's family. It's amazing to me that they did that.
It's truly a story of tragedy turned to healing, turned to wholeness. It's beautiful.
And how they welcomed this family into their community. Winona Judd, gotta love Winona, she said that we're showing the world what a dysfunctional family does. We show up for each other. This quote speaks to me because
Perfect.
I feel like I'm a little dysfunctional at times, and I feel like the communities that I'm involved in are also a little dysfunctional at times. But we all show up for each other, which is the most important thing. The reason we should show up for each other is explained by Martin Luther King Jr., who said, "We must learn to live together as brothers or perish together as fools." And that is why we need to show up for each other. I don't want to perish like fools. We need to learn how to live together as brothers and sisters and help each other out.
I actually pulled up his whole speech. Well, it was 2 minutes long. There were some other options. They were like 15 minutes or 25, and I went with the 2 minute.
That's always the best option.
I'm an efficient person. Somebody watched the full 20 minutes to get the best 2 minutes. So why do the work twice?
I agree.
We're a community. Someone did the work and now I'm benefiting from their work.
It's sharing.
Yeah, which would be what they would want me to do.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to tell you some more of that quote. He says, "Through our scientific and technological genius, we have made of this world a neighborhood. And yet we have not had the ethical commitment to make of it a brotherhood. But somehow and in some way, we have got to do this. We must all learn to live together as brothers, or we will all perish together as fools. We are tied together in a single garment of destiny, caught in an inescapable network, and whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the way God's universe is made. This is the way it is structured." He then quotes John Donne, "No man is an island entirely of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main." I'm sure you've heard that one. I think it's a pretty well-known quote, but a part of it I did not know that I liked was he continues and says, "Any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind." Talk about connection there. I thought it was beautiful, which of course goes so perfectly as we've talked about using our talents. And you used in another episode that you need each arm, you need each leg. We are all part of the main and we are all one, and how much more powerful we can be as families and neighborhoods and communities if we act like this and we pull together and act as one.
I love those quotes that you just said, and I'm really impressed that you kind of went geeky history on me there for a second.
I love it.
It was like a role reversal. I don't know how
It's just
to
who I am
react.
now. It's just the new me. I love history. I'm going to try my best to not always bring it to history in the Bible like someone else does because, got to keep it balanced. So you've got to change now. You go out into the center of the ocean and make no sense. I'm now in charge.
I think that sounds like a fabulous idea.
I think it sounds like the worst idea. So
that is one thing that Martin Luther King Jr. taught us is we really do need to work together as a community and help lift each other up. That's one of the reasons why I love reading his speeches so much is they are so unifying, faith-based, and also he loves the Declaration of Independence like I do. I really love his speeches.
And when I was listening, what I love so much is it's not about just sitting on a golden throne and getting stuff. It's about doing the work and contributing. It's not about expecting things to come your way. It is be part of this and it will grow. I just like the passion he has about that.
I agree with you. That is a really good point he always brings up, and it's lifelong lessons that you get when you study the scriptures. This takes us to our next point. Christ wants us to build strong communities. He does not want us to perish together as fools. Christ teaches us that he wants us to be one with him and our Heavenly Father. He has commanded us to build Zion. And what Zion refers to is the Lord's people who are of one heart and one mind and dwell together in righteousness. This is the ultimate community. Can you imagine if everyone chose to live like that, to live with one heart, one mind, and dwell together in righteousness? I get very idealistic and I like to imagine what that would be like. And someday, maybe we'll be around. That will happen when the Savior comes again. Or maybe we'll be zapped. I don't know which one.
That one sounds a little bit more restful, to be zapped. What comes to my mind, though, is that we're not meant to be one mind and exactly think the same. We're not asked to be exactly the same carbon copies. We are asked to have our own relationship with God, discover our own talents, and use those in our own way. And I think that's what makes it so beautiful.
Yeah, we're not asked to be clones. We're asked to find our individual self. And that's what we're bringing to this community table that we're sharing.
But if I could be a clone, I would be about 5 inches taller.
Me too, for sure. Wilford Woodruff said, "The Zion of our God cannot be built up in the hearts of men alone. We have to build temples and cities, and the earth has to become sanctified and to be made holy by the children of God who dwell upon it. And to do this, we must be united together." And that's the key. You're bringing all of your talents and we're building up this community together. And I love being part of positive communities. I really do. But the reason this quote is good for me is because I am such an introvert that I can't wait to get home all the time. No matter what I'm doing or where I am, in the back of my mind, I cannot wait to get home.
Because you can't wait to podcast.
I can't wait until we're done podcasting and Cydni leaves. But this is not what Christ wants. We should actively be seeking to build strong communities. And Christ wants us to be one heart and one mind and dwell together in righteousness. And to make this happen, we don't have to be exactly alike, but we do need to show up like my coworkers did for me and like the Amish so that we can build the types of communities that Christ wants us to build.
Speaking of fools, I just talked to my little brother. See what I did there? Mm-hmm. He goes to AA. I just have so much respect for this group, honestly. It touched my heart so much how they took him in. It did more good for him than anything else has done. He is coming up on his 8th anniversary, I believe, and I'm incredibly proud of him.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
And many of the stories I've listened to from AA have touched my heart. Recently, I heard a woman, she just said that she walked into a meeting in tears. She knew she needed to be there, but she was not ready to make changes. She didn't know anybody. This woman walked in with tears rolling down her eyes, and another woman locked eyes with her and patted the chair next to her and said, "Come sit by me. It's going to be okay." And I thought,
good.
What a simple gesture that matters so much in the building. It's these small, simple acts that everybody does and everybody works together, and it creates such a beautiful thing.
And that's what we should be doing at church.
And anywhere, really, because there's times that you might be at a park and you don't know anybody, but there's someone else that doesn't know anyone there too, or a school function or a sports team. No, actually, I don't like to sit by other parents during sports. I don't want them to see me scrolling and not watching the game. I don't want them judging me. So other than that, you should definitely be inclusive. But there's serenity prayer. They have other prayers too. He was telling me they are so beautiful. And every time he shares with me, knowing what he's been through and who he's become, I feel it in my soul. It touches my heart. And that's the only time. Other than that, he's a punk and he still deserves to be picked on by me.
Of course. I don't want him to get a big head.
He does the same for me and in front of my children. But because he opened up the serenity prayer for me into my life, I read all of it. And I honestly don't know if this works for anything we've talked about, but I feel like I'll share it with you anyway. God grant me the serenity to accept all things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking, as he did, this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. And when you think about a community of people coming together who maybe were a little bit foolish once, but are all there to change. And saying this together and believing it creates such a beautiful experience and a beautiful change. And it helps with everything we've talked about. That's a brotherhood. That's a community. That's a network. That is people going in a hallway to pray for you. It's love. It's brotherhood. It's beautiful. What I love is there's other communities for your needs too. There's some that struggle with different addictions and different issues. And I had my group for a difficult pregnancy. A friend of mine who's going through a divorce has a divorce group. Again, like I said earlier, there are those communities and networks out there. And sometimes it just requires that you make the first step, but it will be worth it. There's the support that you need no matter your circumstance.
As we said earlier, we need to show up.
Now you may be asking, what's one thing I can do this week to strengthen my community or your ward or your street or your family or your faith circle? We challenge you to pray about it, then act. We challenge you to show up.
This brings us to our final thoughts. Healing and hope are found in strong communities where people lift each other, celebrate together, and show up in hard times. Whether it's your church, workplace, or neighborhood, true connection comes when we bear one another's burdens. We don't have to think alike, but we do have to care enough to show up. That's how we build Zion. One heart, one mind, united in purpose. Let's follow the examples of my coworkers and the Amish and live together as brothers and create positive communities together. This is our prayer
From Cydni and Sher.
I'm forging my way through the tip top. I'm living my life through the drip drop. When eternity's plan, I just can't stop. I'm making my way through the drip drop.
Cydni and Sher. Whoops. Wait, do I say Sher?
Yeah.
I forgot. We'll just like punch people in the face spiritually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Cydni. So today we want to talk about
Today, Sher came intoxicated.
Yep, I did.
Put the beers down, all of them. I know that's not water. You're not drinking warm milk anymore, are you?
You know, a girl drinks a glass of milk once and you never let it go.
When you meet someone for the first time and they're drinking milk at like 4 p.m.
I love milk.
That was so funny. I wouldn't judge so harshly if you had cookies too, but it was just a glass of milk.
There's nothing better than a glass of milk.
No, it is the worst thing.
Oh,
There is nothing worse than a glass of milk.
I love milk.
I won't even have milk in cereal.
What?
No.
Oh, it's my favorite thing.
I do not understand. My dad has ruined
love
all
it.
5 of his children with milk. My dad would add water
Ew.
to milk in the middle of the night to save money. And once I remember I opened up milk and I took a drink of it. You know, like you're not supposed to out of the jug.
Yeah.
And it was chunky.
So, Cydni, I don't know if you know this, but you're an adult now and you don't have to drink chunky milk or water it down.
Some things never change. You just don't go back to some places that haunt you. Why? Why face that demon? There's no purpose.
Ugh, I love a good glass of milk.
I'm not going to have milk ever. I'll have a burger. See, cows are fine. It's nothing against cows. I'll eat them, but I will not drink their milk.
Today we want to, I can't even talk. I
You
don't even
can.
know I'm here.
You don't need to talk. It's a podcast.
I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to.
It's just the tears running down your face make me feel like you might cry.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
Sweat out of the eyeballs. Just talk about it.
I don't remember. Who knows? Why are you asking me? I can't remember anything.
All right. I don't even remember why I asked.
I know.
So here we are.
Okay.
Same level.
Perfect. I don't remember what you just said.
I'm thinking in my head before I speak. That's the new thing I'm doing where I think before I speak. I don't really like to do that though.
Yeah, why start now?
Yeah. Okay, I won't do that then. Okay. Good talk. Through our scientific and technological. Techno.
It's like you're swearing. Yeah.
I'm so good at sound effects. I'm going to call Disney after this and tell them, do you need a new Disney princess? I'm ready. Let's focus. And a woman, whoa, Rudy. Have a great week.